You know that feeling when you wake up after 8 hours of sleep, but instead of clarity, you feel like your head is wrapped in fog. You stretch, open your eyes, and realize your body is rested, but your brain feels like it has been working overtime all night. That heavy, sluggish state is not about poor sleep. It's about what your brain was doing while you were supposed to be recharging. And here is the truth most people never hear. The problem is not your pillow, your caffeine intake, or your bedtime routine. The problem is the prefrontal cortex, the command center of your brain, refusing to shut down and carrying unfinished loops into the night. Tonight, I'm going to give you a protocol that flips the switch on that hidden noise. A ritual that clears the backlog, silences the chatter, and allows you to wake up with a sharp, powerful mind. This is the Silence of Mind protocol, and it changes how you recover and perform. To understand why you wake up heavy-headed, you need to know how your brain handles tasks. Think of your mind as a computer. Every open tab drains memory, even if you're not looking at it. Every unresolved task, every half-finished thought, every worry acts like another tab in the background. The brain has a mechanism called the Zeigarnik effect. It keeps uncompleted things alive so you don't forget them. That survival feature made sense when forgetting to finish weaving a basket meant losing food. But today it traps you in a mental loop. You check email, you don't reply. You think about a meeting, you don't plan. You recall a bill, you don't pay. Your brain keeps all of it alive, running cycles all night long. That is why you wake up with mental fatigue even after long sleep. Now here's the protocol. You cannot fight your brain's design, but you can outsmart it. Your brain does not need you to finish every task. It only needs you to give closure to the loop. And closure can come in the form of an external storage. In other words, your brain will release the tension if it knows the task is captured in a safe system that you will come back to. This is why a short nightly unload is the foundation of the Silence of Mind protocol. The step is simple. Before bed, take 3 minutes. Write down every open loop, things you did not finish, worries, tasks, reminders, stray ideas. Do not process them, do not plan, do not solve, just dump them. What happens next is measurable. The hippocampus stops tagging those items as urgent, and the prefrontal cortex can downshift instead of spinning during sleep. That first step alone is powerful, but here's where top performers separate from the rest. They add a second command, the shutdown ritual. Once you have dumped the loops, you mark the end of the day with a consistent action. For some, it's closing the notebook with force. For others, it's turning off the light, stretching, or even a verbal phrase like, "Today is closed." The ritual is a signal to the brain's basal ganglia, the habit system, that work mode is off. Without this signal, your brain will continue scanning for unfinished business even in bed. With it, you are training your nervous system to respect a boundary. This one action takes less than 30 seconds, but it is the difference between real recovery and pseudo-rest. But the Silence of Mind protocol doesn't stop at dumping and shutting down. The third piece is emotional offloading. Because let's be clear, mental noise is not just tasks, it is emotions. The brain keeps replaying conversations, conflicts, and self-criticism because it treats unresolved emotion as unresolved business. Here is the tactical fix. You give it a container. Every night, take one unresolved emotion and write a single sentence beginning with "I release." It can be as simple as, "I release the frustration about today's meeting." Neuroscience shows that labeling emotion reduces amygdala activity. By labeling and releasing, you are literally down-regulating the system that keeps you awake. Now, imagine what happens when you combine these three elements: dumping tasks, signaling shutdown, and releasing emotion. You are no longer falling asleep with a brain running loops at full power. You are clearing RAM, closing applications, and allowing the hardware to cool. And the effect is not abstract. Clients who install this protocol consistently report waking up with a mind that feels switched on within minutes, without needing coffee, without dragging through the first hours of the day. Their mornings become their sharpest hours. Let's go deeper into the neuroscience so you understand why this works. The prefrontal cortex, which handles planning, problem-solving, and decision-making, is supposed to reduce activity during deep sleep. But when loops remain open, it keeps spiking activity. This disrupts slow-wave sleep, which is when your brain clears metabolic waste and resets synaptic strength. The result is that you can log 8 hours but get the restoration equivalent of 5. On the other hand, when you execute the Silence of Mind protocol, you deactivate the pending circuits, allowing the glymphatic system, the brain's cleaning mechanism, to work without interference. That means you wake up with more available working memory, higher dopamine baseline, and sharper executive function. I want to give you one more tactical layer because this is where you build leverage. Add a sensory anchor to your shutdown ritual. When you close the day, attach a consistent sensory cue, dimming the lights, playing a short sound, or even a specific scent. Over time, your brain will start associating that cue with release. This is conditioning. Just like Pavlov trained dogs to salivate at a bell, you can train your brain to power down at a chosen signal. This reduces the effort needed to disconnect, making the protocol even more automatic. The real advantage here is not just better sleep, it is compounding recovery. If you sleep heavy and wake foggy, you spend your first 3 hours fighting your own biology. But if you install the Silence of Mind protocol, you get those hours back at full power. Over a year, that adds up to hundreds of extra hours of deep work, clear decisions, and energy that compounds into career, finances, and health. That is the competitive edge most people will never access because they think rest is passive. In reality, rest is a skill, and like any skill, it can be hacked. In part 2, I'll take this further and show you how to use the protocol to not only shut down noise, but also prime your subconscious to work for you overnight. Instead of losing hours to random mental chatter, you will convert sleep into an accelerator of ideas and problem solving. That is where elite performers create breakthroughs while others just hope for rest. If you want to wake up not only rested but upgraded, stay with me. Here's where the Silence of Mind protocol becomes more than a shutdown. Once you learn to clear loops and give closure, you can use the same system to direct your subconscious while you sleep. Most people think the brain is passive at night, but neuroscience shows the opposite. During non-REM and REM cycles, your brain continues to process data, strengthen neural connections, and even simulate scenarios. The difference is this: without guidance, it processes noise. With guidance, it processes your priorities. That's where you unlock the true advantage. Instead of waking up with random mental chatter, you wake up with clarity on the exact problems you care about. The tactical step is called targeted priming. After you unload tasks and release emotion, you choose one key question or one challenge that matters tomorrow. You write it down in a clear, simple form. For example, what is the best opening for my presentation? Or, what is the most effective way to solve this design problem? You don't try to answer it. You simply prime it. What happens next is that the brain's default mode network, the system that handles associative thinking, continues working on that question in the background during sleep. When you wake, often in the shower or during breakfast, the insight appears. This is not magic. It is the natural function of memory consolidation and problem-solving networks, triggered by precision input. The key here is not to overload. Pick one question only. Multiple questions dilute the focus. One question primes one path. That's the efficiency of the Silence of Mind protocol. Not just release, but redirection. You are turning the night into a productivity engine without effort. Elite performers, scientists, and entrepreneurs have used this without knowing the neuroscience. Now you can use it deliberately. Let's break down the full sequence so you have the system clear. Step 1. Dump all open loops in 3 minutes. Step 2. Mark closure with a consistent ritual and anchor. Step 3. Release one emotion by labeling and letting go. Step 4. Prime your subconscious with one precise question or problem. That's it. 4 steps. Less than 10 minutes. But the effect is disproportionate. You wake up with a brain that is not drained but reset. You don't need to fight through 2 hours of coffee and sluggish thinking. You start sharp. And over weeks, the compounding is massive. Now I want you to see the contrast. Without this protocol, you go to bed with noise. Your prefrontal cortex keeps firing. Your sleep is shallow. You wake foggy. You start the day behind. You push harder but never catch up. With this protocol, you go to bed clear. Your brain enters deep cycles. You wake light, focused, and primed. You start the day ahead. That is the edge. Most people think productivity is about grinding harder. In reality, it is about controlling recovery. That is what separates the amateur from the elite. There's one more layer you can add once the core protocol is automatic. You can train your nervous system to treat the ritual as a pleasure, not a chore. Pair it with something rewarding, a calming tea, a specific track of music, or even the satisfaction of physically tearing the page after writing. By doing this, you create positive reinforcement. The brain starts craving the shutdown instead of resisting it. That is habit architecture at its highest level, turning discipline into desire. Remember, your cognitive system is like high-performance hardware. It doesn't just need power, it needs cooling and resets. If you ignore that, it overheats, slows down, and crashes. If you respect it, it gives you speed, clarity, and endurance. The Silence of Mind protocol is your cooling system. It is the difference between waking up heavy and waking up unstoppable. So here's the challenge. Tonight, before you go to bed, run the protocol once. 3 minutes to dump, 30 seconds to close, 1 sentence to release, 1 question to prime. That's less than 5 minutes total. Tomorrow morning, notice the difference. Then repeat it for a week. The compounding effect will speak louder than any explanation. You now hold a code that transforms rest into a strategic tool. Not passive sleep, but active reset. Not random dreams, but targeted processing. This is what high achievers install into their lives to separate themselves from the noise. If you want more of these mental codes, protocols that give you an unfair advantage in career, in decision-making, in personal energy, make sure you subscribe to Success Code. This is your arsenal of strategies to outthink, outlast, and outperform.